Welcome back. I have Abby here with me, and we are going to be talking about plants. Have you ever looked at a forest of tall trees swaying in the wind and wondered how those trees all came to be in that forest? Have you ever smelled a flower and wondered about how the flower came to be and how it came to be planted where you're smelling it? Maybe you've enjoyed eating an apple, and when you bit inside of it, you wondered about apple trees and how they grow apples. Well, apples that we eat once grew on trees, probably in an orchard with rows and rows of other apple trees planted by people. Inside the apple, we know what's there. Seeds, many seeds. If we were to take that apple seed and out of the apple core and lay it in some moist soil, it would grow into a plant. And that plant would one day become an apple tree, just exactly like the apple tree that grew the apple. Think about that. Isn't it amazing? A tiny seed can grow into a tree with a stem, branches, leaves, flowers, and fruit, exactly like the apple tree that it came from. Inside the fruit of that tree, we would find more seeds that would again grow more trees. It's pretty cool to think about. How can a tiny seed do that? Well, inside every tiny seed is actually a tiny plant. It contains all it needs to know to grow into a fully grown plant. Everything it needs to know is inside that seed. Inside the seed, there's food supply that keeps that tiny plant healthy until it's ready to grow. So apple trees and other plants make seeds that are sent off to grow outside of their fruit. And without those seeds going out, there wouldn't be any plants at all. So be on the lookout for seeds. You'll find them in some very interesting places. That is the story of the seed and the job of the seed, or what the work of the seed is. So are you interested to know more about seeds? Would you like to dissect a seed? Great. So I knew we were going to be doing this lesson, and so I sprouted some seeds. And by sprouted some seeds, in our sprouter, this is called a seed sprouter, I sprouted a whole bunch of different kinds of seeds for us to look at. These ones up here are broccoli sprouts. It's hard to see them. These are broccoli sprouts. And one good thing about sprouts is they're fully ready to eat. Do you want to eat some broccoli sprouts? I know when I do this in the classroom, we get super excited about getting to eat our sprouts. These are sprouted broccoli seeds. Does it taste just like broccoli?
It actually does.
Isn't that funny? So these are sprouted broccoli seeds. And I'm going to pull one off, and I'll zoom in closer. Because this is a sprouted broccoli seed. You can see the seed coat, or what's called the Testa, up here at the top. We'll talk about that more in just a minute. No, don't eat that one. That's part of our lesson. Okay, so this top tray, it's broccoli seeds. Those are broccoli seeds. This is where we were eating from. That's what they look like when you pull them up. Broccoli seeds. Okay, so I'm going to set the broccoli aside. And these ones haven't grown very much. In fact, these ones don't look super healthy at all. There are some seed sprouts in there. These ones are alfalfa.
I thought
Alfalfa sprouts.
I thought the broccoli was alfalfa.
Nope. Okay, we're going to set that one over there. Oh, did you look?
Kind of.
These are beans. I sprouted beans, green beans, so that we would have some of these to look at. Now, these are so cool. Look at this sprout.
It's a monster.
It is a monster. This one, we're going to talk a lot about that one because that one's really cool. But these ones that one's the best, I think. Here's another one that's pretty good. So these are what beans look like when they start to sprout. Now, you can eat sprouts just like this. Sprouts are really good for you. They're really healthy. You don't use soil or anything to sprout them in. And this bottom one, those were green beans.
Oh, they do smell.
These ones are called mung beans. And if you've ever gone and had pho, you usually get some beans in there. And so these ones are really cool to look at. This is a bean sprout. And this one has developed a nice bottom part to it. So we're going to look at a couple of those. Okay, are you so excited that I sprouted seeds for us so that we could do this? Okay, I'm going to set these back on there so it doesn't leak out. But you can see that those bottom ones have grown so tall that I can't put that back. It won't go inside again. All right, we're going to switch views and we're going to dissect some seeds and look at the parts of these seeds. Okay, so here we have our cutting board mat. This was our broccoli sprout. Whoa! This was our broccoli sprout. These were our green beans, and these are the mung beans. So I want you to look at, we'll start with the green beans because they're the largest ones. When we look at these green beans, we can see that there's this case or hard shell on here. This piece right here, we call the testa. And this testa comes from the Latin testa, meaning hard shell. When it's dry, it doesn't come off or it doesn't fall off. It's hard and it protects it. So that is called the testa. And then here you can see on this green bean, I'm going to move those guys out of our way. You can see that there's two pieces. This one here, or these are called cotyledons. And the cotyledon comes from the Greek cotyledon, meaning cup-shaped hollow. So I'm going to pull those apart very gently. And if you look inside the cotyledons, you can see, do you see how it's that shadow that's in there? It's like a cup or a bowl. So those are the cotyledons. I can't really set it down without losing it there. Those are the cotyledons. I'm just going to pinch them off. Those are the cotyledons. Now, tucked inside of the cotyledon was a little baby plant. And we call this baby plant or an embryo. It's the embryo of the plant. And all of this that's left here is the embryo. And you can see this part that comes down. There's two different parts. There's this white part that's coming down and a green part that's growing up. This part that's coming down is called the radicle. And the radicle is what becomes the root of the plant. This radicle becomes the root of the plant. This top part here is called the plumule. And the plumule comes from the Latin for feather, plumule. And if we get really close, if I get really close with it, you can see that it looks like a feather. It's kind of blurry, but it looks like a little feather. What do you think that little plumule is going to become?
A leaf.
A leaf. Yes, it's a little leaf. So the embryo of the seed, or the embryo within the seed, becomes the plant. This is the baby plant that remembers everything it needs to know to grow into a full-size plant. And that plant will grow seeds, which have all of they need to know to grow more seeds, which will grow more plants. Let's look at these. So we have more of those green beans. Same thing. The outer shell, that's hard when it's dry. Whoops, I broke that one right off. We'll set that out of the way. This outer skin that is hard when it's dry, but not right now because it's wet, is called the testa. And the testa protects the seed. These pieces that protect the embryo of the plant are called the cotyledons. Cotyledon means cup-shaped hollow. This bottom part of the embryo down here that becomes the roots is called the radicle. And this top part that looks like a feather is called the plumule. That's what becomes the leaves. Okay, I'm going to move this green bean out of the way. I actually should just move it right over here. I'm going to move this green bean right over here. And we're going to see if we can find the parts with this mung bean. Mung beans are really good. So here we have the testa. It's this dark purple skin that it's not pulling off as easily as it did on the green bean. The dark part. And then here are the cotyledons. Cup-shaped hollow. Cup-shaped hollow. And the testa's on there. You can see it, and when you look at it, it's kind of purple. It just won't slide off. And then here is the embryo. The plumule becomes the leaves. The radicle becomes the roots. And the whole part of it becomes the embryo. What do you think, Abby? Isn't that neat?
Yes.
Yeah. It's harder to see on these smaller ones. So on this broccoli seed, you can see that black tip. That's the testa. And it won't pull off. Oh, there it goes. There's the testa of this broccoli. And there is the cotyledons right inside there. And when we open that up, there's our embryo, our plumule, and our radicle. It's really cool that we get to see all of the parts of our plant. In your journal, I want you're going to list all of the things, all the parts of a seed and what their work is. I want you to draw these. You're going to list or label them, and you're going to talk about what each of the parts does for the plant. Also, you're going to take notes. So sorry about that. For your follow-up, you're going to also take notes on the story of the seed and talk about how the seed does its work of remembering what kind of plant it came from and having all of the information it needs to grow a plant just like it. I can't wait to see your follow-up. We'll see you next time.